important, hopefully. Okay, so we were discussing about what to do when we have the study plan and we want to modify the study plan, right? So, so actually we need to have a way to interact with the user. I mean, the user has need to have a way to tell the application it wants to add or remove a course, okay? So I think the most common or simple, the simplest choice you can have is to add buttons, okay? Buttons are very easy to add, to render, and very easy to use for the user, okay? It's very clear. It's a button. If you press the button, something happens, okay? Plus, minus, add, login, skip, whatever, okay? You just put a message on the button, and it's quite easy to understand what happens. So, for instance, you want to modify the study plan, you want to remove a course from the study plan, add a button, minus, okay, near every course. That's the simplest option, probably, okay? Maybe not a button, you want to add some text that can be clicked. I mean, it's more or less up to you, but I mean, as long as it can be easily understood, that's fine. The same for the study plan. Study plan, okay. You want to add a course from the study plan to the from the list of courses to the study plan, you have the plus button, okay? And then you have the buttons. You can disable buttons as needed. So it's easy to create a user interface that dynamically changes depending on what's the state of the list of courses and the study plan, okay? And so here everything happens in the same page, okay? So this means that you need to change some states in React, right, to perform these actions, okay? Good. So this is basically manipulating states in React, okay? And remember, I mean, we have some constraints. I expect these constraints to be followed by the user interface, okay? That's the reason why we learned React, because otherwise we have to program everything from scratch in JavaScript, and that's not so convenient, right? Because instead we have React, and it means that we change some states depending on what's happening here in the user interface, and the user interface gets updated accordingly. It means we can have a state, for instance, of course with the list of courses, but that's fixed, right? But I mean, with the list of elements, that means courses in the study plan, and depending on what enters and what exits from the study plan, you update states that decides if buttons, courses, and so on have to be rendered in a way or in another way. So it means enabled, disabled, and so on, okay? Like you add a course which is incompatible with another. I expected that after you add this course, of course, the list of courses in your study plan is updated. So there is a state in React that is updated. This trigger a re-render, and in this re-render you recompute maybe the state or just a variable inside the component that decides if the buttons should be rendered as disabled or not, okay? So this is I would say, one of the main difficulties of this exam, okay? So correctly writing the logic to handle the constraints on the client side, okay? Because you need to think in terms of updating states and then computing the aspects of the interface on the basis of these states, React states, okay? Good. So, and then I expect that, I mean, if an action doesn't satisfy the constraint, it's disabled, okay? That's quite normal, okay? So it's like, just give you an idea, for instance, for the exam in the theater. If a place is occupied, I expect, I mean, a seat is occupied, I expect you cannot click and book for that seat, right? It's occupied. It's like when you book a seat on the train. I mean, you want to choose the seats and the interface says, well, you cannot, okay? Maybe in the meanwhile, it became free, we don't know, but this is the issue of web applications, okay? That's the typical problem of web application, and we said in this course I have no way of having updates of what's happening on the server side. And by the way, in many applications, you don't want to have these updates, okay? The airline company, the train company, and so on, doesn't want to give you real-time updates of what's happening in their systems, okay? By the way, but I mean, that's a side comment. Okay, good. So, and then okay, let's say we did some modifications in the study plan. We need to make them permanent, right? So, we need to have some actions. I would say buttons, again, buttons, okay? Like save. Save. Okay? Okay, I'm happy with the study plan. Click Save. Save means we take the study plan, we send it to the server. We need to have an API for doing this. Okay, let's design the API. Okay, let's go back to the API. Post. Let me copy paste. Okay, and then I change it to post. Post. Okay, post API study plan. That's good. Okay, one is get and the other is post. Okay, should this be a post, a put? I would say probably a post, but we will discuss about this in a minute. Okay, first let's think about what we are sending and what happens on the server side, and then we decide which method is the best one. So request body, list of courses in the study plan to be saved. Okay, of course, of the authenticated user. This is an authenticated API, of course. Okay, it's my study plan as a user. So if I'm not recognized by the system, I cannot save anything. Okay. Response body. So here actually, yeah, that's an example. Okay, so a list. Response body, I would say it's okay or not. Okay, so either it says it's fine or something went wrong. Okay. If not, you can say maybe some errors, I don't know. I mean, but this is errors, maybe a list. Okay? That's up to you to decide what happens in this case. If you want to say what went wrong, that's fine. If you have an API like this, probably you want to take these messages and show them to the user. Okay? Because otherwise they're useless, right? Okay can be just an empty body. That's a possibility, okay? Or I mean, empty in terms of empty object, or just empty, I mean, because it's 200, and so we don't look for the body, okay? Okay, so it is a post or it is a put? Well, actually, I would say, I mean, when you create something, it's typically safer to have a post, okay? Because if you call it again, I mean, the result is not guaranteed to be the same, okay? I mean, this is quite peculiar as an example because, I mean, you post the same study plan again, typically you have the same result, but for instance, remember that we have a limit on the number of people, or number of students in the course, okay? So what happens in case you post again the same study plan? I mean, you need to, I mean, you consume an additional seat in a course, basically, okay? That's one reason why I would say it's a post. Maybe another reason is in the beginning there's no study plan. So we started with a state on the server that, no study plan, and we ended up with having a study plan, okay? So if you have a post instead of a put, sometimes you can say, well, it could have been a put, but for sure it's not wrong, okay? On the other side, put, it's supposed to be idempotent, so if you call it again, you typically want the result to be the same, okay? The result on the server side. And in this case, you might not be enrolled in a course, and so you consume a seat in a course because you added the course in the study plan. So I would say it's not just an update. You modify some other states on the server. So here it has to be a post, okay? Even though I told somebody during the labs, we are caring a lot about the methods because it's important to understand what the APIs are doing on the server side, okay? But from the practical point of view, when the APIs are managed asynchronously by the browser, so with the fetch you can decide which HTTP method you want to use, it doesn't make that much difference. Of course, GET is it's a different story because it has no body. You cannot send a request body to the server, so it has to be treated differently. But the other methods, it's just a matter of using the correct method for clarity, okay? Because then on the server side, it doesn't make that much difference. But actually, I expect you to use the correct method at the exam because I would like to see that you understood the difference between the various methods, okay? And it was important once before single-page application because if you do a post through a form by the browser warns you that the fact you are doing a post, okay? Because you are potentially performing an action that has other consequences on the server side. You are modifying the state again, like paying, you are paying twice and so on, okay? And that's why there is this difference between the post and the GET. And so I would say the GET and all the other methods. You cannot use all the other methods directly from a form with old-style web applications. And nowadays with single-page application, you control everything from JavaScript, so the difference is more blurred. But again, please use the correct method when you design the APIs, because that's one of the first things I will ask you to explain. If it's not, like here, it's not a post. Why did you choose the put? Do you think there is something that changes or not on the server side, in the state, and so on? Okay? Okay, so, and then what's missing? Well, of course, it's the delete is missing. Delete, oops, it's so difficult to write with this pen. Del, let's write del so it's easier. Okay? Del. And so, why do we have a del? Actually, it's a post with an empty list of courses, right? I would say, again, for clarity, and for another reason I'm going to tell you in a minute, it's better to have this delete, okay? We are talking about this crude operation, create, read, update, and delete, okay? That's a typical pattern of interaction with servers. So, there's nothing wrong in having an action like, delete, if you're supposed to be able to delete something. So, request, response. Request, there's nothing which you need to send as a request. Response body, okay or not. Okay? Even though, I'm not sure which errors could happen. So probably, there's probably no errors that we can return from the server. Okay? So, you can leave it here, but I cannot think about an error that we can return from the server to the client that makes the user able to do something about it. Okay? if the server is not able to do the delete, not sure what the user could do, okay? It's up to the server to delete the study plan. Okay, so why I want to have the delete, I told you. Because we're not just deleting the fact that there is a number of courses, but there is also another issue. The other issue is a study plan can range from 60 to 80 or from 20 to 40 credits, okay? Full-time or part-time options. So actually, when you delete a study plan, you also delete the type of the study plan, okay? And indeed, when we create a study plan, actually, maybe we want to, think again in terms of this API. What is, creating a study plan? Creating a study plan is, okay, a list of courses, but also the type of the study plan, okay? So, type of the study plan, again, I say the min, max, min here, that's good, but there's no type here. The specification talks about full-time and part-time. I would be against hard coding numbers in the interface, okay? So if they are returned from the server, where is it? If they are returned from the server here, they are fine. We can use it in the interface. But if you are choosing between, part-time or full-time study plans, maybe it's better to use a flag, okay? Full-time, true, okay? True, false. And then if it's 60, 80, or 20, 40, it's decided on the server. And next time I get the study plan, the server will tell me 60, 80, or 20, 40, okay? But, having this flag here, it means also that we need to modify a little bit the user interface, okay? Where is, I don't know where to put it at the moment. No, I didn't put it here. Anyway, full, oops, no, cannot see anything like that. Let's do it here at the end. Full, and maybe you want to have a binary choice, okay, or a checkbox, whatever you think it's appropriate, okay, as long as it's binary, either full or part-time, okay, and this is something in a controlled form, as we saw until now. Every lecture during the course when we started talking about forms. So there will be a state, and there will be a flag, and a state in React that says the study plan I want is full-time or part-time, okay? And this works when you create, when you start from an empty study plan. And this should be set when you load the study plan, okay? Because we say if you log in and there is already a study plan, you should be able to load this information as well as the fact it is full or not full, okay? In terms of full-time or not full-time. So I would say maybe it's better to modify this API and get also the full-time information, full-time true, okay? that is probably what we are going to to save in the database, okay? Of course, it means an additional table somewhere, unfortunately. Or, since this example is very simple, probably an additional field in the user table is fine, because it's one-to-one to the user, okay? The user can only have one study plan. That's fine. That's another place where you can put it. I mean, we didn't think about the tables yet. I think we can do it in a minute. So post, delete, the modification. What about the modification of the study plan? Okay. Modification of the study plan. Actually, the modification of the study plan starts from the user interface. It's up to you to decide if you want to have the user be able to change from switch from full to part-time. And I mean, this is quite inconvenient, I would say, because I mean, the two ranges, 2040 and 6080, do not overlap, right? So, I mean, this flag could be incoherent with the rest of the information that is in the study plan. So, I mean, this is something that can be converted into a question for us, I mean, for the ones who wrote the specification. So, should I be able to change the type of study plan from full to part-time and vice versa when a study plan has already been created or not? And what should I do with the courses if there are too many courses and they pass from full to part-time and vice versa? There are too few courses from part-time to full-time. So maybe, I mean, always try to go in the simplest direction. Here the simplest direction could be, you can set a full or part-time flag only when the study plan is empty, okay? So it means to change the type of study plan, full or empty, you need to delete the study plan, okay? That also more, I mean, it also makes sense, okay, from a practical point of view. I mean, you are enrolled either as a full-time or a part-time student, right? Okay? But I mean, this is more about specification, so it's a question, I mean, a very legitimate question you could make. So this simplifies quite a lot of things, so you don't have to care about these issues that might arise in the user interface. Okay? So the incoherence between the list of courses in the study plan and the full flag or not. Okay, and then so when we modify a study plan, actually, you know, I mean, we send this information full-time true, okay, true or false, which must be coherent, of course, with the rest of the information in the request. So 2240 or 6280, but it must, I mean, you shouldn't allow the user to change the flag if it's already set, okay? That might also mean that you need to be careful how to write the code on the server side, because if there is no course in the study plan, actually in the database, it means we don't care about the value of the full-time flag, okay? And can be set. Otherwise, it cannot be set. It must be read from the database, and the rest must be coherent from what we already have, okay? And so in short, we can say this post API can be used to do the updates as well, okay? As long as we know what to do in case the full-time flag is not what we expect, okay? And typically on the server it means either we decide to ignore it or we decide to reject the request, okay? I mean, both options are fine. As long as requests are made by your client, you should not have this problem on the server side, right? This problem only happens if there is a mistake in programming the behavior of your application, and then you fix it, or because requests come from somebody who is not using your application. And so, I mean, rejecting this kind of application is fine, because it shouldn't happen normally in your application, okay? Because your application is programmed on the client side in a way that if you already have a list of courses that have been loaded from the server, you're not allowed to change the full or the full part-time flag, okay? So you always send the correct value to the server, okay? And the server doesn't need to worry about the fact what to do if the value is not correct, okay? If the value is not correct, it means the request didn't come from your application, so we don't care, okay? And I mean, as long as we don't mess up with the information on the server, that's fine. And we can simply reject the request. I must tell you, I would say we can even make this part optional, okay? Let's try to write it, okay? Just as an example, okay? I'm programming together with you. It's something very different from the stuff I would publish, but for modification case, okay? For creation case, okay? So now it's optional. We solved the problem, okay? I mean, you just check on the server side, rec body.fulltime. Is it undefined? That's fine. I mean, I don't use it. So it means it's a modification. If it is defined, I check it's what I expect and I perform the creation, okay? If it's not a creation, it means that it needs to be discarded, okay? Because it could be something that comes from somebody who is authenticated but not using our application, okay? Be careful about this point. This is stuff that we will for sure check and question at the exam, okay? Because, I mean, the point is that any authenticated user can send any request, okay, outside the API, outside the client, okay? So doing requests like we saw, the REST client, whatever client you want to use. As long as you have a valid cookie, you pass the is logged in test on the server side, right? And then it's up to the rest of the code to decide if the action should be performed or not, okay? And you need to be careful about what you allow the user to perform, okay? So always stay on the safe side. And I mean, if you expect something to be a certain value, make sure this value is coherent with the rest of the data that you have on the server side, okay? I hope you got this concept. Maybe it was not that clear. But I mean, the point is that always remember that, I mean, you're constraining the user to send only certain requests using your user interface, but anybody can take the cookie outside the browser and send any other request, okay, to mess up with your website. I mean, the server part of your website. And you should prevent anything bad from happening in these situations, okay? This is quite, I mean, easy in the sense that this cookie for this session only allows you to work on your study plan. So you can only mess up your study plan. But sometimes, like the administrator, for instance, can mess with any other user, right? So you must be careful and make sure that, I mean, if a request comes, it actually, the server prevents any request, any kind of request from doing actions which are not coherent with the data that is already stored on the database on the server side. Okay, so I think here that's all, right? I don't think we need additional APIs. Again, I'm not 100% sure because I have another solution here, okay? That's the one I will publish and will show you shortly. But, I mean, the point is, Okay, now we have a plan for implementing basically the whole application. Okay. Oh, last important thing, because before we go and see the solution I propose. It's actually a solution coming from one of your past colleagues, one of students, okay? And actually, we didn't say anything about what happens when there are not enough places left in a course. You remember there is a max number of places, so maximum number of students that can select some courses. What happens in this case? Did we design the APIs correctly and the interface correctly and so on? I would say so, okay? Because you have the post API study plan. When you add courses, one of the tasks of the code on the server side is to check that you can actually add that course. It means that you need to check if this course has requirements, they are satisfied. If this course has a maximum number of students, you need to check that you are below the maximum, and so if you add one, it's still fine. Okay? So, as long as you do the correct programming on the server side, this API is fine. And, okay, you need to say that in case there is not enough room in some courses, you have a way to communicate it to the client, okay? So not enough seats left in course, I don't know, computer architecture, whatever, okay? But, I mean, we have a way to communicate errors with the client. Some errors, I mean, maybe we are not interested in some errors, but there are application errors like this one. I mean, for the exam, not enough places, not enough seats in the theater, okay? That should be communicated to the user. Otherwise, the user clicks and can see there are 4 seats free, clicks, and expect these 4 seats becomes occupied by himself or herself, right? But in the meanwhile, somebody could have added reservations, or he could have taken the course, right? So you need to have a way to communicate this condition to the user. This is really, really important because it's really the basics of how web applications work, okay? So you are working on the client, and until you go to the server and perform the actual operation, you're not sure your operation will succeed when more than one user can act on the same resources, okay? Like we saw examples during the course, the booking of seats. Here it's like booking courses, right? Or bidding or buying items and so on, okay? So resources that can be accessed by more than one user, okay? Please, at the exam, just don't say, I mean, I just checked the seats were free. I mean, there were not, the number of students in the course were less than the maximum. So I can send a request. It doesn't matter, okay? Because the only thing that matters is that when you arrive on the server can see there is still room left, I mean, to enroll in the course, and you can get your seat in the course. That's the only place where you can do the check and and be sure that you can actually perform the operation, because there is still enough room in the course. Okay, so the maximum has not been reached yet. Okay, so so the rest was just a template, post a session and so on. I mean, TOTP again. TOTP as, you know, an additional check you need to perform at a certain point here, and a check that you need to perform when you send the delete. So it's something you need to write in the delete code on the server side. Okay, is TOTP, is logged in, of course, and then is TOTP. Okay. this should be quite trivial. I mean, we are not implementing anything so difficult with the TOTP. I mean, it's just an additional factor for authentication. It means the session is been authenticated in a more robust way, okay? And so you can do additional operations which are not simply denied by the server, okay? So, okay, database tables, well, of course you have users, and users always contain the user stuff, username, hash, well, maybe an ID, it's up to you if you want to have an ID or the username is unique. Maybe an ID is never bad, I would say, because it's easier to handle. In case the user wants to change its username, for instance, it still has the same user ID and so on. Hash, and then what? I mean, a name, if you want to have a name, that depends a lot on the text, right? Hash and secret and the last, what was the name? I mean, just copy paste from the here, salt, secret, the last TOTP step. Okay, salt, don't forget the salt, okay, as I was about to do. Last TOTP step. Okay, user tables are like this. Maybe you want to add the full time, because, I mean, you don't want to make another table because it's one-to-one relationship, that's fine, okay? Use the table, it's fine. Table courses, of course, courses, code, name, constraints, which are the constraints? What was this stuff? CFU, max students, mandatory courses, and that's all. And then you can have a table incompatibilities, maybe incompatibilities that are couples of codes, right? Course 1, course 2, okay? And table, oops, because this is one to many relationship, right? And study plan, okay? Study plan. There is ID, student ID, and course, okay? Nothing else. I mean, tables are pretty simple in these examples, in this course, in these exams. Okay? So, I mean, we need to model the constraints, and we need to have a table that contains the study plan, so the list of courses for a given user. Of course, all the users are in the same table because there is an ID, the student ID. Okay? And we already put a full-time flag somewhere else. So the full-time flag is stored, and that's all. Okay? Once we have this structure, I mean, the rest is just implementation. Okay? So you are ready to start implementing the whole application. So just start from, for instance, you know, the login, the first page. Take the first page, you load the courses. Okay, first step. Then make the study plan. You add something in the study plan table. You load the study plan. You add the button, save. Okay, without too many checks. Make sure you can send a post and you can save it. And then you add the checks and so on. And you build things and you test it while you build it. Okay? That's the way I recommend going on. Okay? That's actually the same way we used it throughout the course in the lab. Okay? So I will publish the README, I mean the commit the README at the end. Okay? But before we leave, because I mean time is running out, I want to show you just an example of the implementation that we are going to that I'm going to publish. So the full code of this implementation will be published. Okay. So exam, this is exam. No, it's, what is this? Terminal new. Oh yes, it's here, right? So client and server. It goes there. Exam sample solved, server, nodemon on index, and client npm run dev. Okay, that's a possible implementation, which is a bit different from what we discussed until now. But I mean, you see the first page. This is the first page, the list of courses. You can open the courses and see there are 3 students out of 3 students already enrolled, no mandatory courses before this course, there's an incompatible course, and so on. Okay? And then log in, click. Let's keep the second factor authentication for the moment. You reuse the same component on the left, and you add these buttons, plus, minus. This is the study plan that has been loaded. Okay? Good. Log it in as Mario Rossi, so no name was not required, but he added the name. Okay. And you can edit the study plan, right? You see the total number of credits updates automatically. This is made through, changing states, the list of courses in the study plan, and recomputing the total every time it's needed for rendering. And you can add some courses, but not others, because you see the reasons as well. Courses have reached the maximum amount of students. This course is incompatible with another, and so on. Plus, minus, and so on. You cannot save because it's 53, it's less than 60, 65. Okay, let's save it. Oh, by the way, have a look at what's happening here. Okay, that's the same thing I will do at the exam. Save, post. Actually, you see, API study plan modifications. This student took a quite different way of implementing the stuff, but actually it's correct. Okay, and you have also the README. You can have a look at the README and see how the APIs work. Okay, I will publish this README. Just in the afternoon, I need to go back to the office and for a meeting, and then in the afternoon I publish all the stuff. So basically, I think what is this preview? Okay, it actually has only 2 routes, /login, okay? Because the /study plan is just the same route when you are authenticated, okay? So if you are authenticated, you also show the study plan, otherwise you don't show the study plan. That's a possibility. I mean, routes are just there for convenience. If you don't need to use it, it's fine. Okay? And of course, it has a delete study plan, post API study plan, creates a new study plan. And then, for some reasons, we decided to have a second post for doing modifications. Okay? We decided that our modifications were just the same API, and then we need to decide what to do with this API on the server side. We can delete all the courses from the study plan and insert the new ones, or just compute the difference and do the difference and so on. I mean, this is correct because you are the only one who is working on your study plan, okay? Otherwise, this would not have been correct. But I wanted to show it to you because, this is quite a good alternative, but you need to be careful, okay? Because you are the only user who is allowed to modify the study plan. If it's something that is shared between with other users, I mean, the courses can be added, deleted, and so on by other users, that could become, more tricky to have this kind of implementation where you only send the difference with respect to the current study plan, because you don't know exactly what the current study plan could be. In this case, you know, but like the status of, you know, I want to add something, well, the card is yours when you buy something, but I mean, like, yeah, it's something that is shared between more users. I mean, this approach doesn't work, but here it works, okay? And it's also, I mean, a way to see a different implementation, okay? And then, of course, you have the authentication APIs, nothing really special. The course, the tables are more or less the same. And yes, credential, etc. Okay? So you can play a little bit with this implementation that I will publish soon, okay? And you can take inspiration from this implementation if you like it, okay? But the point is that, I mean, you should do what we did together. Design the APIs and the interface before starting doing anything else. You might have something wrong. It's normal. You fix it as long as, I mean, while you're developing the application, okay? Okay, I think we finished the time that is available for us for this course. So in case you have any questions or comments, also about the exam and so on, I will be glad to answer you, but I mean, just allow me to, you know, remove all the stuff from the classroom because I'm not sure if somebody else is coming, but when it comes, of course, it wants the space, okay? Don't forget to leave feedback for the course. You remember the CPD or JCT questionnaire and so on. If you have suggestions to improve the course, please write something and we will be glad to hear to you. From you. Okay, thank you.